Councillors, the time is now 6:30 and I will declare the meeting open. I advise the public that this meeting is being webcast and members of the gallery may have their voice and image captured. By attending, you consent to being captured, recorded and webcast. Any statements made by individual persons during the course of this meeting are the statements of those individuals and not of council. You should refrain from making any defamatory remarks or making comments about another individual without their consent. Council accepts no liability for any statements made by individuals during the course of the meeting. In the event of an emergency or the fire alarm sounding, please remain calm and wait for instructions from the General Manager and Council officers. If we need to evacuate the building, Council's emergency muster point during Council meetings is the lower car park. In the event of a medical emergency, please alert Council staff for assistance. Council acknowledges the Wonnarua people as the traditional custodians of the land we are meeting on today. We pay our respects to elders past, present and future. I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples here today. We also acknowledge the Awabakal people to the east and the Darkinjung people to the south and other Aboriginal peoples who now live within the Cessnock local government area. For tonight's prayer, we have with us Pastor Wayne Kembry from Cessnock City Church. So I invite Pastor Kembry forward to lead us in prayer today and would ask councillors to be upstanding.
It's a pleasure to be here and to enjoy the company of intelligent men and women through our city. God answers prayer. He's true and he's good. Heavenly Father, we come as your children this evening to express our love and thanks for our gracious God. We pray for our council of the city of Cessnock, the members and the officers, the directors and all those who make the decisions to the advantage of the glory and the safety of the welfare of this city, so that peace and happiness, truth and justice and sound development may be established amongst us. May God give us wisdom to make the right decisions, to come to an agreement and be at peace for the best outlook for the city itself and all the developments. Guide their speaking and listening to be considerate and generous in all their talking, thinking and planning and decision making. Give them courage to say what needs to be said and the humility to accept the decisions which they do not agree, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. God give you wisdom and blessing. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Kembry. We now move on to the apologies and applications for leave of absence. There's an apology received from Councillor Jackson and leave of absence requests from Councillor Burke and Councillor Jackson. So I'm moving that they be received. Councillor Hawkins, seconded Councillor Moores. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Confirmation of the previous minutes. Moved that way, Councillor Hill, seconded Councillor Sander. No debate. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Disclosures of interest. No disclosures of interest. No petitions I'm aware of, and all public address. There is no recommendation to consider any reports by Englobo. So we'll move on to Merrill Minute MM4 2023. Moving this way to try and make sure that we have the housing options available across our local government area for to address the housing crisis that we're in. We know there are families that are wanting to support other family members with other building houses on their property and looking to keep the option for dual occupancy and reinstate that as a permissible land use rather than the alternate of secondary dwelling, as the dual occupancy allows more freedom for the style of house, the size of the house and the location to be built, and so not wanting to put restrictions on that style of development in the hope to encourage more people to be able to live here in a way that they want to do and do what they want to do and their land, as well as ensuring we don't overdevelop the area. So I'll move that way. Speaking on it is Councillor Olsen.
Yeah, look, Mayor, I certainly I understand the sentiment of this, and I certainly don't have any major issues with it. My biggest concern is down the track that if someone's got 50 acres and they put a house on 2 different access roads, then they decide that they want to cut that block in half. That worries me. I think there should be some sort of caveat over anything that any land that say that once they've got 2 houses on there, that doesn't mean they have 2 properties and they can actually sell off half the land. So I understand where we're coming from, allowing families to have a second house on there. I just worry that eventually, somewhere along the line, people will want to continue the downsizing of the size of the properties that we do have, especially those that are still farming land around the area that's being utilised, and I would hate to see that happen, to be cut down to smaller blocks that they never would be used for farmland again.
Councillor Painter.
Yeah, I'm in favour of this Mayor Minute. I think that having the residents of the area having more autonomy over their land, can be a good thing. I think having the option of having larger dwellings will have a better dual residencies in the area rather than smaller houses, which lends itself to smaller families or Airbnb options. I think larger dwellings will be a benefit to the area and have a good impact on the community as a whole, having long-term, either intergenerational living or more families taking up that option. But I do share the same concern with Councillor Olsen, but I would imagine that anybody having a subdivision proposal would go through the regulatory process and would be assessed on its merits.
Yeah, I might just ask, given those couple of comments, the director to just provide some advice. But my understanding that any further application to subdivide land and entitlement of dwelling entitlements on property would be a separate application that would be required to go through its own merit assessment and approval by council. Is that the case?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Councillor Moores.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You probably virtually asked the question I was going to ask, because if I had 50 acres and I wanted to put 2 houses on there anyway, the first thing you'd do is subdivide it before. If you were going to subdivide it, then build 2 separate houses on each property. So virtually what you just said, it comes under its own merit next time if they go to subdivide it, well then they've got to reapply to us. So that will answer my question. Thank you.
Thank you. No further debate. We'll now put the item. All those in favour? Councillors Moores, Dunn, Grind, Sander, Hill, Hawkins, Painter, Watton, Olsen and Saval. Those against, Councillor Jerd. I'll declare it carried. Motions of urgency. There are no motions of urgency. Now move to report PE 24, 2023. Moving that way, Councillor Sander, seconded Councillor Dunn. Speaking on that, Councillor Olsen.
Yes, Mayor, I know there's a few residents over in the area of Carroll Avenue that weren't happy about the size of this development. I know it meets our guidelines and it meets all the criteria, but for me, I was over there for the site inspection today, and I still think it's an overdevelopment of the site, same as the residents over there. I know we will be approving this tonight, and we're looking at reviewing the LEP and making sure we have the right zonings for certain areas. But as the director told us today, it all comes back to we can have all the zonings we want, but the state government overrule us on setting up what the zones are allowed in each zone. So we won't be able to make wider roads. We won't be able to stop this type of development, no matter what we do, basically. And I just think it's destroying our community in how our blocks of land are getting cut down and smaller all the time, and jamming in two 4-bedroom homes on 450 square metres. That could have anything from 8 to 10 cars there at any one time for them 2 units. And across the road there's a house that's cut into 3, and there's 3 units as well. So there's more extra cars in that area, extra parking. To me, it just doesn't. What we need to do is have a state government that would start listening to the council and let us have our rules to run our town the way we want it to be run, and not by saying one rule fits everybody. And what we're having here is just developers making a lot of money and the community's not looked after. It's the developers getting their way before the community and the existing residents. And that's the disappointing when we are councillors elected by the residents to represent the residents, and if they don't want something, then they've got good reason why. We should be able to vote it down and say no, and the developer can go away, but not take us to the Land Environment Court. But unfortunately, in this case, it meets all the guidelines, and it's rules that's made not for the residents, I don't believe, but for developers over residents, and that's disappointing to me. I thought residents should come first.
No further debate. Councillor Jerd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry about that. I'm a bit slow at the button some days. This reminds me of 6th Street, South Cessnock. I do remember saying that the planning is supporting these type of developments, and it won't be long till this could be happening next door to you. Here we go again, another area that is predominantly single story, and we're going to build these 2-story units again on strata because it seems to be the loophole when it comes to minimum land sizes. Hopefully we look at changing the LEP like talked about at the site meeting today, because like I said, people move to Cessnock for the country town aspects, and when we were doing all these little build-up areas, it does change the look of the town and makes our town lose its charm. It also can create parking issues. I just feel like we're overdeveloping, and I'm allowed to have an opinion on this. Even this report says the building doesn't meet requirements at the side boundary setbacks, are non-compliant for the first floor of the building, in that the maximum size boundary setbacks requirement is 1.819, with this being 1.65. The report addressed this issue as while the setback proposed is non-compliant with a variation ranging from 10.4 to 36%, the length of the non-complying wall does not extend for the full length of the building, only half the length being of 9 metres. Doesn't matter that it's a 36% variation, as it's only half the length of the building. Just going to finish on, I know we need affordable housing, but I don't see this as the answer. I also don't think key worker housing on government land are a way to fix the issue either, which that information of key worker housing is in the Hunter Regional Planning 2041 document or in the discussion, the 6 city regional discussion paper. I suggest if you want to know what I'm talking about, please go read these documents, as they are relevant to how we plan our towns, as you can see here. Thank you.
Thank you. No other debate. We'll put the item. All those in favour. Councillor Dunn, Grind, Sander, Hill, Hawkins and Savell. Those against, Moores, Painter, Watton, Olsen and Jerd. I'll declare it carried. Moving on to report PE 25, 2023, Hunter Power Project. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Mayor Savell. I'd like to move that this report be deferred until the next to the next council meeting to allow further investigation into the VPA.
Yes, so procedural motion for that to be deferred. Seconded, Councillor Sander. There's no debate, so we'll put the motion. All those in favour? It's unanimous. P 26, 2023, DCP review. Councillor Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Val. Just like to move an amendment to the recommendation so points 2 and 3 would be removed and to include an alternative point 2 instead. That a further report be returned to council after the exhibition period has been completed.
So moving that alternate resolution. Is that seconded? Councillor Grine? Is there any debate? No debate. We'll put the item. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Report CC 40, 2023. Moving that way, Councillor Hill, seconded Councillor Hawkins. Councillor Jerd speaking on that. Sorry, just before, were you wishing to speak at all, Councillor Hill? No. Councillor Jerd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to double check. This is you email about wanting to attend this conference?
The director.
It's just when you read so many things, sometimes it's just quick to just check.
Yes, Councillor Jerd, this is just advising councillors that it's coming up and requesting those councillors that are interested in attending to make application to attend.
Yep.
And that can be by completion of the attached form and sent in to the General Manager by the 1st of August.
Thank you.
No further debate. We'll put the item. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Report CC 41, 2023. Moving that way, Councillor Hawkins, seconded Councillor Hill. Speaking. No. Councillor Olsen.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'm sort of, I don't understand why we are going to give this power to the General Manager. It's a committee of council that we have to have, and we as councillors overrule the General Manager, and I still think that if we're going to have a traffic committee making recommendations, we should be knowing what the traffic committee is recommending for our community, and we should be supporting or refusing to support that, because we had that issue over in Ferguson Street where this council, I think it was unanimously refused what the recommendation was from the traffic committee, and if that was never come back to council, then the General Manager would have approved it and the councillors wouldn't have had a say. So I can't support having the General Manager being delegated this power on traffic committee resolutions. It takes up very little time of council's time for the report to come back to council and the councillors to make that decision. That's what we're here to do. We're here to support recommendations, and if we don't support recommendations, to review the recommendations and find an alternate solution sent back to the traffic committee. I think we should just continue on that practice. It's worked so long and it hasn't failed us yet, so why should we change something that isn't broken? And I won't be supporting giving this to the General Manager.
Councillor Hawkins, do you want the right to reply?
Look, Mr. Mayor, maybe the director could clarify that what we're delegating is the really simple, basic, straightforward, basically moving lines and the simple things that don't need to wait a month or a month and a half. They're on the ground. We've had examples where the line marking's already in place.
Point of order from Councillor Olsen.
We've had traffic committee issues come to council that have already been done before council's approved them. That's what Councillor Hawkins is saying.
That's That's not a point of order. That's debating what Councillor Hawkins was saying. But Councillor Hawkins, I believe, was asking a question of the director around the types of things that are delayed, because you mentioned the types of things that would be determined by the general manager, because you mentioned the Ferguson Street plan, and I know it's in my thoughts that something like that would still come to council, as does event regulation, as does all of those things. So we might. Did you want to finish your question?
Look, Mr. Mayor, that basically, if you could clarify some of those issues, but my understanding is that anything that isn't unanimous of the traffic committee, and also there's items that can't just be approved.
Yeah. Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, Councillor Hawkins' comments, the ability to expedite regulatory signs and line marking is a critical factor in assessing or putting this recommendation up. Those issues are usually of a minor nature and can be rectified quite quickly. The other areas is associated with roadworks. With our projects and with external projects, the ability to be able to respond to those requests in a timely manner, as opposed to having to wait until they go through council, is also another time saving. But it won't negate the need for road closures or temporary road closures and matters of significance to come to council for debate and approval.
Any further comments?
Look, I think I'm happy with it.
So that was a question. I think Councillor Painter was going.
Yeah, just want to clarify, so this is just small things like signage, line marking, nothing major or controversial. So it's just to expedite time saving and cost saving. Or if it's just minor things that are delegated to the general manager or to the director, in my mind, as it reads, it would be a good thing to save time and money.
The director.
Sorry. Yeah, that's correct, Councillor Painter. It still doesn't negate the traffic committee for making recommendations that should go to council within that, but general day-to-day business, it has the ability to expedite those so they can be treated with in a timely manner.
And just to clarify, councillors would be advised through the traffic committee agenda of what's on the agenda beforehand, and also the minutes, regardless of the determinations, still come to council. So the council's still advised at that point as well. Councillor Olsen, you had a question.
Yeah, just a question. Just recently, Ferguson Street, we put an island in the middle for that pathway that's going all around in circles, and that was put a recommendation that went through the traffic committee. That was put in before the traffic committee come to council. So you're saying we delay projects, but we still do projects before the traffic committee report comes back to council?
Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's generally not the case, Councillor Olsen.
Sorry?
That's generally not the case. The traffic committee still has the right to object or to debate those sorts of activities with respect to approvals and sending them up to council, or to have them addressed as a normal course of business.
So what you're saying, council doesn't do any work from the traffic committee's reports until the traffic committee report is approved by council?
I don't believe that was what
Didn't say
he
that.
said. No, but
I am partially deaf and I'm struggling to hear what he's saying. Sorry.
Director.
Yeah, that's not what I said, Mr. Mayor. It was that those sorts of matters are still put forward to the traffic committee. All matters that relate to management of traffic are put to the traffic committee for endorsement and for recommendation, and that recommendation for standard items that are mentioned in the report are recommended to be delegated to the general manager so that we can expedite those matters where matters need to go to council, they will still go to council as recommended.
That's not the question I asked, Mayor. The question I asked was, Ferguson Street had medium strip put in the middle, pedestrian crossing, that was approved by the traffic committee, and it come to the traffic committee and the work had already been done. So how is the traffic committee being delayed if you're doing the work before it comes to council?
Did you want to, Director?
Mr Mayor, I don't have a detailed understanding of the Ferguson Street project that Councillor Olsen's referring to, so I can't comment on that.
Follow on that question, if you don't have a detailed understanding of what I'm talking about, maybe you should just defer this report until we find out how many things have been delayed by the traffic committee report coming to council and how many things haven't. I know there's been traffic committee reports here come here plenty of times after it's all been done. So I'll put up an amendment, Mayor.
We've already
I'll put up an amendment.
finished debate.
I'll put up an amendment.
I
want to put up an amendment, Mayor.
I just, hold on, Councillor Olsen, I'm just thinking. No, but I've closed debate on.
You've allowed more questions, so I think you've allowed it to take.
There's the questions. Okay. So are we allowed?
I'll put up
So
an
we'll
amendment, Mayor.
allow the amendment as Councillor Hawkins asked questions rather than speaking on it, so it didn't quite close debate.
I'll put up an amendment that this be deferred until we get a report back with clarification on how many traffic committee resolutions have been delayed over the last, say, 12 months because it doesn't come to council.
Is that seconded? Councillor Jerd.
Mayor, I want to just speak on that, just if I may. 1 month of delay on this won't make any difference because there wasn't a traffic committee meeting this month. So 1 month delay on this won't make any difference to the traffic committee, but it will give us clarification and it'll give the Director of Works a chance to understand what I'm saying about how many times our council has done work prior to a traffic committee report coming back to council. And yes, you say that the major issues like Ferguson Street will come back to us, but I'm concerned that we don't get them all and that we don't pick up the right ones. I think we're here as elected councillors to represent the people. Let us represent the people, not to keep taking stuff off us and doing things behind closed doors. Do it in the open council, and 1 month is not going to cost this council any time at all for the traffic committee because there was no meeting this month because I was supposed to attend it and I was deferred.
Councillor Moores.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to say, Councillor Olsen, that it'd be a bit unfair at the moment for the Director of Works of Infrastructure because he was not in this role at the particular time. You're asking and firing the questions at him. So please take that into consideration. Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone wishing to speak on the amendment? No. Councillor Hill.
Perhaps a question to the General Manager or Director of Corporate through you, Mr Mayor. Should a question like this that seems to be working towards trying to delay this report for a month have not been put in during the 1 week that we've had this report in front of us? I'm sure perhaps our staff may have been able to get this answer.
So,
For another report already tonight? Didn't we
I think that's
defer one?
not a
Exactly
point of, it's not a point of order, Councillor Olsen. It was a question, and answering your question, Councillor Hill, is yes, that councillors should put requests for questions prior to the meeting to have them, the ability to have them responded to in a formal way, as per the Code of Meeting Practice. Councillor Judd.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I actually did put in a fair few questions for this meeting. It took me a while. as you all would have seen because we got the memos. But I do believe in the code of meeting practice, we're allowed to ask questions that we might think of on the spot. So, you know, that's the whole role here tonight, is we actually do ask questions. The questions that I ask still doesn't really answer what it actually changes if we do actually change who we delegate this to. So I wouldn't mind to be deferred so that I can actually get a good chance to chat to the Director of Works to make sure that we make the right decision. So thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we're voting on the amendment at this stage. All those in favour of the amendment? Councillors Painter, Watton, Olsen and Jerd. Those against? Councillors Moores, Dunn, Grind, Sander, Hill, Hawkins and Savell. We'll now return to the motion. Wishing to close the debate on the motion. Councillor, we'll put the. Do you want to put it or do you?
Look, simply by just saying the report outlines pretty well what this is, and that is just to improve efficiency in the process. This amendment will not affect how matters are reported to and considered by the Cessnock Local Traffic Committee. So there's no ram it through in secret conspiracy behind it. This is just an efficiency that we can delegate under the legislation.
No further debate. We'll put the item. All those in favour. Councillors Moores, Dunn, Grind, Sander, Hill, Hawkins and Savell. Those against. Councillors Painter, Watton, Olsen and Jerd. I'll declare it carried. Moving to report CC 42 2023. Moving that way. Councillor Hill, seconded. Councillor Dunn. No debate. Put the item. All those in favour. It's unanimous. Moving to report CC 43. Resolutions tracking reports. Moving that way. Councillor Hill, seconded. Councillor Sander. No debate. Put the item. All those in favour. It's unanimous. Moving on to report WI 22 2023. Councillor Moores.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to take out point 2, possible, for a later date and a motion, as this was not part of the original scope of the motion.
So that's moved with the moving of removal of point 2, seconded by Councillor Hawkins. So speaking on the motion, Councillor Moores.
Speaking, I'd say that this was not, the BMX park was to be facilitated around the naming of it, of Neville Tomlinson, a BMX park facility. So I would like to take out point 2, but for a later date and a motion, as this was not part of the original scope of this motion when it was put forward.
Yeah. Any further speakers? Councillor Painter.
Yeah, I think this needs to go through its proper process and have the report on this. Mr. Tristan Reynolds, obviously Councillor Moore's put a lot of effort into getting the park named after Neville Tomlinson, and the same due process hasn't taken place for Tristan Reynolds, and it'd be good to have some background on his contributions to the community before we can make a proper decision.
Yeah. Councillor Jerd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to acknowledge Councillor Moore over there. I think you did a great job putting this forward and doing great respect for Neville Thompson as he did start the BMX. I see this is a bit of a tough one because as much as I understand where you're coming from, this is submissions from the public to say this person, that's another person that's quite big in this community who's now deceased, they would like to remember him. So I'm finding it hard. I don't know how to vote on this one tonight because I understand where you're coming from and I want to name it what the suggestion is. But I don't know, if we take out 2, does it really change much, is basically what I'm sort of asking. Thank you.
Well, was that was that a question you asked of? And yeah, do you want it to the director or Councillor Moores or both or?
Okay, so the point was, Jessica, is that 2 just came out of the blue like that. Now, if we cast our memory back and take it away from this BMX, where Councillor Olsen wanted to name a creek bed out of it, there's pros and cons of how you go about this. You don't just slot it into something that's been going for 14 months. So it's just about, I would like it taken out of that because this is the naming of the park and the facility as Neville Tomlinson. They can apply to put section 2 in at a later date, but not on this particular day of the park being named. That's what I'm saying. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I don't think anybody wants to take away from the contribution Tristan Reynolds made to BMX and mountain biking and our community. I think this is more about focusing on the contribution of Neville Tomlinson. I was out at Carmichael Park the other day and I noticed how it had changed in the years, and I'm only talking in the 30 years that I've been around to see it. So I think naming this facility after Mr. Tomlinson is a fitting tribute and a way that while we're progressing and we're growing as a community, and you only have to look around, particularly this area of Bellbird, to see how things are changing. But I think this is a great way to honour and acknowledge our past and our history and where we've come from. This is a $1 million facility that's state-of-the-art and professional. It's a long way from a shovel and a wheelbarrow and a man with a lot of enthusiasm and dedication. So I think this is a great way to honour Neville Tomlinson, and his family should be proud of the contribution and that it's being recognised. So yeah, I fully support this naming. And I'd like to think, can I just ask a question perhaps of the director? There will be an official opening of this facility?
Director.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, there is intended to be official opening once the facilities are complete.
And the families will be involved?
I would need to confirm that.
I'm assuming the fire brigade will be also. Can we make sure that this event gets the recognition that it deserves? I've spoken to a few of the family members and they've all got contributions that they'd like to make. One of the grandchildren have Mr. Tomlinson's motorbike, the original motorbike that he had forever, and he was fairly keen to display it and to sort of show people part of his pop's heritage. So yeah, I think it's important that we involve the community. Thank you.
Okay. No further debate. We'll put the item. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Moving on to WI 23, Curry Netball Facility. Councillor Grine.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to, on recommendation number 1,
Recommended, so there's an alternate just
Number
at the
2,
bottom of the
sorry.
screen. Yep.
Yep, number 2, if we could just remove the word external, investigate, take the word external out,
So,
and then a report come back to council, please.
yep. So moving that way, seconded Councillor Hill. So speaking on that at all, Councillor Grine.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Look, I've was disappointed, as everyone in this room is, about the cost blowouts. But I think it's important that we move forward and we complete the works, and we do find the money somewhere, whether that be external, internal, but we actually push to get the whole works that we promised our community, for our little community that are doing an amazing job, to make sure that we get this over the line. So I know that we will all work hard, all of us councillors and council, to make sure that this actually happens. Thank you.
Councillor Olsen.
Yes, Mayor, I'm totally disgusted with this whole thing. To think that it's going to go from 7.5 to $12.7 million is absolutely disgusting. How can any staff member get it so wrong? If that staff member worked for me, that person wouldn't have a job anymore. That is terrible. I find that no one can be that far out of a guesstimation. And this has happened so many times with this council, so many times. Let's do this project over here. It's going to cost us $2 million. Oh, hang on, it's $5 after we agree to it. Look at the things that we've done, that our pathway from Bridges Hill, $3 million. We were, last I heard, we're at 3.7. We'll probably go to 5, I'd say, by the time we get this project finished. Here we are, another project. Look, $12.7 million to build netball courts and a change room. It didn't cost us that much. It didn't even cost us that much to build a football stadium. I know that was a long time ago, but honestly, if I couldn't build it for less than that, I'd give up. You give me the 12.7 and I'll build it for you, and I'll be rich for a while. I just can't understand where all this money goes. There was a contingency in there over $1 million still. So they're guesstimations, and that's all we ever get out of this place is guesstimations. We got told Woolworths wanted to buy the land. They're not buying the land. This is disgusting. If any councillor here accepts that as good management, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here.
Councillor Olsen, I'm just going to interrupt you under there. Under the code of meeting practice, I think you've made a number of comments in this so far that are insults and unfavourable personal remarks about council officials. And I think the comments have not been reflected on any individual person. They've been about the organisation and staff broadly. And I would ask, so Councillor Olsen, I'm speaking at the moment. This is covered under the Code of Meeting Practice under 15.11D. And I think that given these comments, I'm asking you under clause 15.12 C to retract and apologise without reservation for any statement that constitutes an act of disorder that I've referred to above, because I do believe your comments are an act of disorder under 15.11D. So I'm asking you to, actually I'm not asking under the Code of Meeting Practice, I'm requiring you to retract and apologise for those statements.
I'm sorry. I've offended people again for speaking from my heart as a resident of Cessnock. I am sorry I offend people because I am honest. I'm sorry to any staff member that took offence to my comments.
Councillor Olsen, this is not an appropriate way to deal with this. I've asked you to withdraw. I've asked you to withdraw your comments and apologise without reservation for those comments. To retract and apologise without reservation the comments made unfavourable comments about staff, and I would ask you to do that.
I retract the comments about the staff. I apologise to the staff. I apologise you, Mayor, for offending you. I apologise to anyone in this room I've offended. I'm sorry. Okay, is that good enough? Now, can I go on? Can I speak now?
I'll allow you to continue in your debate and remind you to keep within the Code of Meeting Practice.
I'm very disappointed for the community of Cessnock that we're going to have to spend another $5.2 million on a project that was estimated at 7.5. I'm very disappointed that we have just put up a motion that we're going to look at anywhere in our council budget to find the $5.2 million. I don't think we should be looking for any money. It's been allocated to any project to be removed from any project to help save this project. Woolworths is not coming to the current site. We haven't got enough money to build it. $5.2 million, but if we take it out of other projects, what are we going to defer further down the track for netball? We've got $1.5 million allocated to Western Soccer Club. Who's here is going to take that off Western? Western deserve that money. They've been waiting and waiting and waiting. They play in the Premier League of Northern New South Wales. They've been the longest serving club in the Premier League in Northern New South Wales, consistently there ever since day one, basically. And we are looking at, part of the report talks about taking money off them. I can't support anything. It's not me that made the mistake of the calculations. Someone else made a calculation error, and it's a massive error, and it's not up to us as councillors to find that money. It's up to the staff to find the money in grants. Get out there and start chasing grants, because I won't support spending any more money out of council's money on this project when we could have been chasing the full amount, not 7.5 when the election was on, and grandstanding with politicians saying, we're going to give you this and we're going to give you that. And we could have got the 12.5 if we knew it was 12.5. I can't understand how people can guesstimate so far out, but I'm sorry they do.
Councillor, I'll ask the gallery to come to order. The gallery is interrupting the proceedings of council. Councillor Olsen, it's just worth clarifying that the resolution before us doesn't refer to taking money from any projects or thing. It actually asks clearly in dot point 2 that it asks for funding options to be investigated and another report to come back to council identifying those. So whatever, I know you're referring to comments that are in the report, but that is not what the resolution is in front of us, as that was put forward by Councillor Grine. Speaking, Councillor Judd.
Thank you, Mayor. Most of you wouldn't know this, but I used to play netball up until I started working. The only reason I stopped. I still love the sport, and want to support the new grounds, but there is an issue. We were told this project is only going to be 7.5 and grant funded and election promise. To then get this report and now we're $5.2 million short. How can we do this project when we're $5.2 million short? And council suggestion, even though I know the recommendation now says that we're not going to, but the suggestion even was there to take 1.6 off Western Bears. Still leaves us with a shortcomings of still another 3.6 million. If the roles were reversed and the netball courts were finally getting the upgrade they'd been promised for years, and then Western Bears, via election promise and grant funded, went to build a new grounds and needed extra funding, would they like their funding to go elsewhere so Western could have new grounds? With that said, I'd love to support the netball courts, as I know Cessnock teams don't play on the 18 courts at Cessnock anymore and have to go to Maitland. And I thought part of the reason to do this project was so that Curry teams could stay at Curry also. But unless there is a way to fund this project without taking funds off Western and off roads, and all those sorts of things that we seem to take the money off, I then have to say no.
Councillor Moores.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I can think back, Western Bears, we were talking about Western Bears ground being done, it's under a grant. And you can't take money from a grant to forward to another grant. So it wouldn't be taken from Western Bears anyway. Okay? So that's one. All I can say is that I just hope that this 1 and 2 can get done because Curry have been promised this. It was an election promise as well. So I hope it fulfills for the girls that have, and the gentlemen, councillors that have tried very, very hard to get this off the ground. There's nothing worse to get a state-of-the-art half finished. We didn't build the Leeds ground with no seats. So we've completely filled it. So let's hope we fill this one. Thank you.
Councillor Grime will close debate. So Councillor Olsen, you've already spoken. I think that was from before. Councillor Watton.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm not going to reiterate what all the other councillors have already spoken on. One quick question, though, concerning this is what's the landscape of grants at the moment? Can any of the directors actually speak to what's actually available? Because obviously we don't have anything internal. We can't take from Paul and give to Peter. It's just not viable. We don't have it there. So what is actually out there that we could access that's on the horizon?
Director.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Watton, the staff have already investigated that, and there's several avenues for grants through the state that we can pursue. Off the top of my head, I can't give you the names of those grants, but they've already identified 3 avenues that we can look to, but we would do that once we actually get the resolution from council.
Okay, thank you.
And in closing debate, Councillor Grime.
Thank you, Mayor Savelle. Can I just say that I don't believe for one second that anyone here tonight is prepared to sacrifice anything from Western Bears, and we're not even willing to entertain it. I am a strong supporter of Western the Bears, and I ask every politician that I come across for 10 million so that we can get this master plan started. I'm very appreciative at Meryl Swanson for, yes, she might have been doing the politics, but she made the biggest commitment in her election campaign for this $7.5 million for Curry netball courts. Now, these guys don't have the proper toilet facilities, the first aid room, like all sporting facilities within our LGA, they are struggling. But these guys also, for the first time, put a men's team in, and they took home the state comp last year. They just came back 2 weeks ago, up against all the Sydney teams, and they brought home another 2 championships. So these guys from a small town of Kurri are actually up against the big guns, and I think that they deserve the best facility that we can provide. And I do believe that we should be pursuing all grants, and it shouldn't be coming out of council money, and I believe that we will get it. So I'd just like to put the motion forward, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grime. Can put the motion forward, and noting that the differences in the report as well, that this is moving to 12 courts instead of the original costed of 8. So, we do need to slightly amend the wording from council officers to the general manager. Continue on that. We're comfortable with that, Councillor Grine and Councillor Hill.
Yes.
So, moving that way, we've closed debate. John.
Let people know what the difference of 8 to 12 means, that it becomes automatically then able to make it international.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes, so we'll move that way. All those in favour? Councillors Moores, Dunn, Grind, Sander, Hill, Hawkins, Painter, Watton and Saval. Those against, Councillors Olsen and Jerd, will declare it carried. Moving on to WI 24, 2023. Moved that way, Councillor Hawkins, seconded Councillor Grind. Speaking on that, no debate. So speaking, Councillor Hawkins.
Mr. Mayor, just briefly, that this is a wonderful event. It's one of those wonderful stories that started out on the back of a beer coaster, and wouldn't this be great fun to do? And through the long hours and hard work of a dedicated committee and hundreds of volunteer hours, they've put together an event that our city should be proud of. I don't know if anybody has not had the opportunity to go, but it's a fantastic event, and the more that council can do to support and help these sorts of events, I think the better off our city will be.
Councillor Judd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Carrying on from what you were saying, Councillor Hawkins, this year actually marks 100 years of the Motorbike Club for Cessnock. How amazing is that? That's something in our town that has been happening for 100 years, and the Postie Bikes is a branch off from the Motorbike Club and is about 10 years old this year. Most here and many locals will know the great crowd it brings to Cessnock. I've been talking to the event holders who feel unless they can get more volunteers to help with the major operation of setting up this event and dismantling it, and the idea is to help with donations for raising raising costs of this event. This could very well be its last year. Sadly, Cessnock will lose an amazing family-friendly event. Not only does it bring in riders locally, it also brings in spectators from as far as Darwin to come here, not only just for the weekend, some stay as long as a week. This brings in opportunity for our tourism and hospitality venues that I feel as a community we really need to fight to keep it here. So tonight I'd like to ask the council to support this event as much as we can, for the community to reach out to the event holders to see how and if you can help support this event to keep it coming for years to come. So with that said, I'm not sure if I should ask for an amendment. A question is, I know we're going to give them in-kind for, is it just under 15? Is there a way that we can support this event a little bit more with the rising costs of the barriers and stuff like that? Is there a way to give them more? In kind? What's that? If they apply for it? Yeah, that's why I'm asking the question. If you know.
Yeah, I think the answer would be there'd need to be an application from them about what support.
Yeah.
They were
I thought that
after,
might have been the
and
case. I
then
just wanted to
it would be
quickly
assessed.
ask. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Moores.
Yeah, the wording is it's got to supply a funding source. Anyway, I'd like to get behind this myself and everyone else in here, and I don't think that there's anyone in this room that would not want to see this go on forever and ever. It's a cracker day. You have a laugh. Thank Christ they're not delivering my mail. And the part is, it's 100 years, and it's going to be a better 100 years this year, because it will be a lot of names that will come up of Jackie Allen, who was a member of the Cessnock Motorbike Club, who was a school teacher in this town, who is now deceased. And mate, for all them old blokes that we used to be there, like Mickey Rooney and all that at the old motorcycle club, they'll all be there, Fat Harry, and all the people that used to be there. So as far as I'm concerned, it's going to be a great day, and I'll be first at the gate. Thank you.
Thank you. With no further debate, put the item. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Moving on to WI 25, 2023. Moving that way, Councillor Hawkins, seconded Councillor Sander. Speaking on that, Councillor Jerd.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is great to see, a petition to get this much needed footpath for Paxton. We'll be voting tonight yes on this, but let me start again. But I actually like to ask a bit of a question. Will this be like? Okay, so will this be like when I put the notice of motion up on behalf of a resident the 21st of September last year to get the GM to investigate options for improving footpaths and associated student safety around Kitchener State School and report back to council detailing options, cost, approximately timelines and any impacts on existing delivery programs that may arise as a result of undertaking any of the options identified. Is this what this report is trying to achieve?
The Director.
Sorry. Thanks, Mr Mayor. This is a recognition of the petition, but with the recommendation that the council notes the petition. The council has the outcome of the investigation into the provision of pathways in Paxton, and that council reiterates the previously resolved priorities which are identified in the Cessnock cycling strategy of 2016, which council endorsed, and the priorities that sit within that, which are the projects that council are currently undertaking.
Okay. So basically this is just to acknowledge a petition to get a pathway, is that right?
So, the
The short answer.
It's an acknowledgement of the petition, but it's also demonstrating that council has also endorsed other priorities with the cycling strategy and with the current pedestrian access and mobility plan, and that the current petition, the recommendations in the current petition are outside that current plan. I would also note that council has undertaken recent works fronting the school, which would form part of the petition's outcomes, providing a shared pathway and crossing and associated works in front of the school.
Okay, no worries, thank you. The reason I asked is just a lot of the schools around this area do need the pathways, and I was just wondering whether or not this would be a grant way of getting all the footpaths done around the schools, because I read the report and I just thought, this is great, but then I've got one that I did back in September, very similar, that is still sitting there, nothing happening. So thank you.
Councillor Moores.
Thank you, Mayor. Jess, if you read it, it tells you there on number 4, the General Manager is notifying the petition organisation of the council plans, current efforts, secure funding for installation and request of the pathways. So that's what they're saying. That's exactly what you're asking. It tells you there. Thank you.
Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. This will be a question on notice, but I distinctly remember us in the previous council amending a motion to allow for an audit to come back of, and I'm pretty sure Councillor Olsen will remember this, an audit to come back of all footpaths around all schools in the LGA, because we were starting to see a trend around the quality of the footpaths and the safety of the children around each school. And I can't remember exactly how long ago it was, but it was recently, and it may have been in the end of the last term, but we definitely amended a motion to allow for some form of audit of all of those paths, and I'm sure someone can find what the status of that is, because I'm definitely positive that happened.
Yep. Yeah, I recall a motion around a future review of the pedestrian access mobility plan when that came up, and I think the director may be able to provide some more information on this, but I think there were some of those also being considered as part of the transport strategy, as some of these routes of things as well.
That's correct, Mr Mayor. The Traffic and Transport Strategy, which is in draft at the moment and being reviewed, considers the current PAMP and incorporation of that and other recommendations from the investigation into the Traffic and Transport Strategy.
Yep. Okay. Did you have another question, Councillor Judd?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I don't know if it's really a question, an actual question, but I'm getting a bit frustrated when the Code of Meeting Practice says that we can actually ask questions. When I ask a question, I get treated like I'm quite stupid for needing to like clarification. So I'm getting a little bit frustrated with that. You know, like I should be able to ask any question if I don't understand something. This is the opportunity to ask, and I mean, I put my emails in and I ask my questions, and I'm just feeling a little bit attacked when I'm asking these questions. So can we just stop trying to school me? I'm not a kid. Thank you.
Councillor Hawkins in closing debate.
Yeah, look, Mr. Mayor, I just thought it might be worth noting on this that there were 6 schools in our local government area that we were able to secure funding for pedestrian access and crossing upgrades, and Paxton School was one of them, was fortunate enough to be one of them. So there's 88 children at that school this year that are going to be a lot safer because of that. So the pathway, the SERL on both sides. So there are things that council are doing, and you know, this petition has certainly put the pathway on our radar, but there's just a budgetary constraint. We can't concrete every single footpath throughout the entire LGA. So look, I just think it's a step in the right direction, and it should be noted that wherever there is grant funding available for projects that our staff are actively seeking and then also actively delivering. There's some fantastic facilities amongst those 6 school projects. So yeah, it's worth noting that our staff are doing a good job, and our works crew, if you could pass on that to them, that we appreciate their work within our communities. So thank you.
Yeah. With no further debate, we'll put the item. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Moving on to report WI26, the minutes of the Traffic Committee. Moving that way was Councillor Hawkins, seconded Councillor Hill. With no debate, we'll put the item. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Correspondence, CO3, moving the noting of the correspondence. Councillor Hill, seconded Councillor Sander. No debate, all those in favour? It's unanimous. And correspondence in relation to CO4 regarding the emergency services levy, noting that moved Councillor Hill, seconded Councillor Sander. No debate, put the item. All those in favour? It's unanimous. Councillor reports. Councillor Dunn.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just on behalf of Councillor Jackson, who was ill and couldn't make it tonight. I just wanted to move for the report that she has submitted prior to the meeting for tonight.
In that way, with no further agenda